Before that, though, Chris Choi's here with an update on a story that we ran last week. Chris.
Yeah, now, remember these?
How could I forget them?
They avoid the traps, they avoid the bait, they avoid the poisons. These are mutant mice. Now we've had a big reaction involving this Californian idea. Somebody called Marnie Young contacted us. She traced this thing down. It's a sonic device. It lets out an awful high-pitched noise. It drives vermin from your home. It worked for her. So we thought, could this possibly be the solution? Well, we've spoken to the top rodent researchers. They say they've tried something similar to this, but the super mice ate them.
Really? Oh dear, well, you'll still be on the case, won't you, Chris? So any more ideas, gratefully received. Thank you very much. Now we move on to bullying, not in the playground or the classroom, but at work, in the office and on the factory floor. The TUC is so worried that today it launched a campaign against bullying. It also released what it describes as a shocking survey that suggests that 5 million people in Britain have suffered at the hands of bullies. But many of those who've been bullied say they endured months or even years of misery before they recognised the problem for what it was. In fact, most bullies use very similar tactics. A common form of bullying is constant criticism.
He was always finding fault with my work. He made me feel useless, as though I could get nothing right.
Bullies can also make you feel excluded.
When I said good morning, he just walked straight past. It was as though I didn't exist.
And then there's public humiliation.
He'd put me in charge of my weakest subject. Then he'd rubbish my work in front of everyone.
Well, one person who knows all about being bullied at work is Tanya Clayton. Tanya was one of Britain's first female firefighters. 2 years ago, she won a case against the Hereford and Worcester Brigade for the way that she was treated. Tanya, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
What exactly happened to you?
Well, as we've seen, all the scenarios that we've just viewed now have happened to me on numerous occasions during my firefighting career, whether it's walking to a room and everyone gets up and walks out, whether it's physical, practical tasks that you have to carry out whilst everyone stands around and watches, hoping that you're going to fail, all the constant criticism, none of it ever constructive.
Why didn't you complain at the beginning when all of this started?
I was embarking on a new career. You don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. You don't want to make waves. You hope beyond hope that you're going to go into work the next day and everything's going to be okay. So it never is.
Very much like a child in a playground, really. That's
very similar. The effects are very much the same.
So what effects did this bullying have on you?
It's had a devastating effect on my life. Your confidence becomes so eroded. I haven't worked since leaving the fire brigade 4 years ago, and to be perfectly honest, I don't see myself ever having the confidence to be in full-time employment again.
So how does it make you feel, though?
It makes you feel very bitter, especially when the people concerned are still in situ and nobody was ever punished. It taints your life and how you view things.
And do you still feel some of those effects now? It's what, 4 years on since you actually stopped work?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, I only actually won the case last year, and I honestly feel that it's not something that you ever get over.
You actually won the tribunal on grounds of sex discrimination, wasn't it? Not
yes.
Bullying.
Yes, well, I don't think it's important what words you use to dress it up, and I don't think it's important what the trigger points are, i.e. because you're female, because you're black, because you're lesbian, because you're the geeky little kid in the playground with buck teeth and glasses. It is plain old-fashioned bullying.
Well, Tanya, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
for coming in and talking to us. Vicky Merchant runs the International Harassment Network, which advises companies on how to deal with bullies. Good evening, Vicky. For people watching this who are suffering at the hands of bullies, what should they do right now, or at least when they go into work tomorrow?
They should tell people straight away. People who bully don't like to be exposed, and they thrive on secrecy. If possible, they should tell their line manager, if it's not the line manager doing it. And they should tell their union if they're a union member. They should get support from other people. If they notice anybody else being bullied, they should get together with them as well.
It's not a very easy thing, though, is it, to go and tell the boss, indeed, to tell anybody,
No.
really?
No, but the employer needs to know that this is going on, so it's important to tell people. It's important not to suffer in silence and to lose self-confidence and to become isolated.
So, Defining bullying, is it something that happens over a period of time? Does it have to go on, for example, for a certain amount of time, 2 or 3 months before you go and tell somebody?
Well, a lot of policies say that it's persistent and regular. I don't think it needs to be persistent, because if you wait for it to become persistent, then it really gets a grip of you and you become very undermined and maybe go off sick, and it's too late really to do anything about it. If you recognise it, do something straight away.
And what sort of a responsibility do employers have in this instance to look after their staff?
They have an enormous number of legal responsibilities towards their employees. They have a duty of care towards their employees for their mental as well as their physical welfare in the workplace.
Isn't it time now, though, for legislation? Because this issue is cropping up time and time again.
Yes.
Surely we need proper legislation.
Yes, we certainly do, and it's on the way, without a doubt.
OK, Vicky Merchant, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. If you want to ring Here and Now about bullying, or indeed any other story that you'd like us to investigate, the lines are open now. The number to call is 0845 600 0050. That's 0845 600 0050. And those details are also on our CFAX page 620. Now, what do you imagine when you think of an angel? Halos, harps, wings maybe, or perhaps even this. It's a replica of the 65-foot-high Angel of the North statue in Gateshead, and it symbolises an increasing interest in angels, especially as the millennium approaches. Believe it or not, an angel network has even been set up to coordinate celestial sightings. Tony Morris reports.
I sit and wait. There's an angel, contemplate my fate.
There was definitely something came to visit. I wasn't dreaming.
My stomach literally dropped, and I said, "Oh my God." And that was when I saw her.
Heavenly bodies have always fascinated us more down-to-earth beings. But recently, celestial sightings have increased to such an extent, they're causing something of a stir throughout the country. Angels, it seems, are everywhere. The internet is crammed full of websites giving advice and information on publications, documents and societies, books, pubs, even stations. It seems angels are all around us. But not everyone subscribes to the idea that there's someone to watch over us.
I don't believe that there are really angels out there. When we're under stress, all the resources that we have are drawn on. And if we have memories of a comforting person, that may come up. If we have a longing for somebody to help us or some advice, that may come up and sound like a voice in our head. Goodness knows it can be almost anything.
But this group of people don't agree. They all have one thing in common. They all believe they've had angel experiences, and now they want to get together with others in the country who've had similar visitations.
I wanted to bring together everybody who believes in angels and who wants to share and acknowledge that gift.
I have a star that's actually called Earth Angel Muriel that was a gift from my youngest daughter last Christmas. So other people are beginning to believe in angels.
I just believe in angels. They're wonderful and I want to spread the word.
We do something called the Angel Walk, or Cosmic Rebirth. It gets rid of everything negative that's ever happened to you since you've been on the planet. You emerge at the other end and you're reborn into a vibration of love.
It's to do with having a vivid imagination, to do with allowing your imagination to come to the fore, instead of always sticking with what your eyes tell you. That can be good in some ways and bad in some ways, but it's nothing to do with being mad.
You might think you're going mad if you see the Angel of the North standing guard over the A1 at Gateshead. It's here I met Glenys Eckersley, who investigates angel sightings.
An angel experience can be from just a light, a feeling of a hand on the shoulder, or actually seeing a full-blown angel. Well, I actually think you can see and feel what you can cope with. I mean, a lot of people would be terrified if an angel appeared in the kitchen one evening, but a light and a feeling of warmth would be very reassuring.
My son was taken into hospital with a brain tumour. We were told when we were leaving that Paul was very, very poorly and the telephone may ring for us. And during the night, I had this angel come to visit me, which was a feeling of a condensed room full of grey mass and warm, and it's very, very hard to describe what happened. And a voice said, Paul will be all right. And he's had the radiotherapy, the chemotherapy, and thanks to the angel, Paul is all right.
Caroline Plant's visitation came to her in more human form. She found herself walking through a notorious subway in London late one evening and believes an angel got her over her fear.
I said, oh my God, and that was when I saw her. We started to walk down the ramp and I could see there was men. There was one coming behind a large pillar and he weaved his way towards us. He went straight in front of us, so he didn't see us at all. We got through to the other side. She turned immediately to her left and she disappeared.
We've hardly begun to understand what our brains are capable of. For a start, all our experiences are constructed by our brains. When we see anything, that's our brain building a model of the world. And our brains are capable of constructing entire other realities.
But the members of the Angel Network have no doubt about what they believe.
Angel! The Angel Network, and we've got our own little angel in the studio to tell us what he's got lined up for next week. Ha, Shankar, I knew you'd like that, yeah. What are you doing?
Well, I've just returned from Sri Lanka, where I was with a few friends, and if you look over here, you might recognise one of them.
Yes, I do. It's Robbie Williams.
In fact, a few people might recognise him.
I think so.
Well, he was out there with his mate, Ian Dury, this is the truth now, and he was out there to promote an immunisation programme being run by UNICEF, and it's an amazing programme. What they do every year is to try and vaccinate all the children under the age of 5 in the country, or as close as damn it to all the children in the country.
Against polio?
Against polio, yes. And it's remarkable in this particular country because there has been a 15-year civil war, and what they try and do is get the vaccine into all parts of the country, including areas that are still held by the rebels.
Right, well, it's obviously a very worthwhile cause. But it's also interesting, isn't it, the way that Robbie and also Jerry Halliwell from the Spice Girls are setting out now on these very worthwhile projects. It's something of a trend, isn't it?
Well, yes. I don't know how trendy Robbie was trying to be, and it's easy to be cynical about these things, isn't it? But I have to say, there was nothing very glamorous about this trip. It's pretty hot, it was uncomfortable, they were being bumped around in a van for days on end, and they got on with their job, which was to make sure that these kids were vaccinated and that they were bringing attention to that.
Well, we look forward to seeing that next week. Thanks a lot, Shankar. And a reminder of our telephone number, if there's anything you'd like us to investigate, it is 0845 600 0050. That's 0845 600 0050. That's all until next Monday at 7:30 from me and the rest of the Here and Now team here in Manchester. A very good night to you. Bye-bye.
Grant's Getting Jealous, The Square, next on BBC One. While over on BBC Two, we pay homage to the man we should thank every Sunday afternoon, the inventor of the lawnmower, just one of the local heroes.
From a height like this, you can watch birds without interfering with their behaviour. And birds do behave in the most astonishing ways. Startling displays to intimidate their enemies, wonderful mating rituals, and the most ingenious techniques for getting a meal. Many of them have never been seen on television before, and you can see them here on BBC One.